Hello everyone, in this video we're going to be looking at a genuinely cool composing tool available to us in Logic Pro. Now this composing tool is actually a chord maker tool and by extension a chord progression tool, so you can create chord progressions really quickly and really easily. Small disclaimer, this is not available in versions of Logic below version 11, but if you stick around I'll show you how you can do something similar in Logic 10 and below. Okay, so chord progression maker. All we need to do is click G, so that's the global tracks shortcut, and then come up to here where it says chord, so you've got a bit of a lane here. If you don't see this, right click, make sure there's a little tick here next to where it says chord. Okay, and then all we need to do is click the little plus here, and then Logic creates a kind of chord region, if you like, along the top here. If we come down, it also pops up a sort of chord calculator, if you like. And what this actually does is allow you to really calculate or figure out what kind of chord it is you're trying to put in. So that's actually quite similar to a calculator in that sense. So let's say I wanted to create a C major chord. That's already in here already, but we'd click on root note, make sure that says C, and then make sure that we click this button here to say major. If we wanted a C minor chord, we'd click over and where it says minor, C sus2, C sus4, C augmented, and so on. But I want a C major, so let's start with that. Now once you're happy with your chord, all you need to do is come out of that calculator, drag your playhead across, click on plus again, and then enter in a new chord. So all we need to do is click that root note. Let's go for an E this time. Let's go for E minor. I'm pretty happy with that. Drag this playhead across again, click the plus button, and then what I can also do is use this dialog box here, right? So if I press G, press return, now the note here is G, so the root note is switched to G. You can also see it changes up here in the chord lane. I'm going to leave this as G major, so that's fine. Drag this across, and then one more chord, let's go for a D major. Great, once you're done, you can just click out of this. And we can actually drag the edge of this region if we don't want it to sort of go on forever and ever. And that's how you create a chord progression. The best thing about this function, I think, is that once you're happy with your chord progression, you can highlight this chord region here, and then drag this down into your actual virtual instrument, and then it pastes or copies in those chords as MIDI data. So we can double click on this, and there we've got the MIDI for those chords, which is nothing short of actually excellent. Super quick, super efficient, and will save you lots of time. I think particularly if you're not sure how to create chords, so if your music theory is, if you're kind of still learning your music theory, this is pretty helpful. Let's have a listen. Yeah, so pretty good, right? Now, if you decided that you actually wanted to change the key, and you weren't sure, where these chords should change to, I think an even cooler function is you can come up to the key here at the top, change that, and let's say we want to change it to G major. Click that button. Logic will then prompt you to ask you if you want to transpose the key. If you then click transpose, all the chords and the chord region here at the top all change for you without you having to do anything. And the MIDI data changes too. So this is now that same progression, but in G major. Which is, I think, pretty fantastic. Okay, so let's change this. Let's say I just hate this. We'll change this back to C, and there we go, back in C. Really, really helpful. And there's a few other things you can do with this. We can right click on our region here, and if we wanted to double the chord rhythm, so make the chords twice as quick, we can do that. And you can see here it's doubled that for us already. What we need to do though is drag this one back down here for it to copy across. So pretty good. Now if you only want to change one chord in this, so let's say this D here at the end, if I double click on that one and then double click again, the chord calculator comes back, and we could change this maybe to let's say we'll go for a B major. Now this won't copy straight across, so we have to delete the MIDI region here, drag back down again, but otherwise it's pretty good. And here we can see it's changed to that B chord there as well, so really, really good. Now you can also right click on this and you can have that chord rhythm, so twice as long, so you can try with that. Now if you're not sure about your chords and you want some basic, really common chord progressions, you can actually come across to where it says chord progressions here by clicking on this region in the chord lane and coming across to where it says chord progressions, and it just gives you some really common chord progressions. These are in Roman numerals, so if you know your music theory, it relates to chords 1 through to 8 or to 7 within a key, so it's diatonic. And if you don't know your music theory, Roman numerals, just 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, so on and so forth. Click one of them, see how it sounds, see if you like the sound of it. Again, delete the MIDI region if you've already got one in, and then you can click and drag down, and it's got just some basic common chord progressions for you to use there as well. Okay, so a couple of other little things. We can double click this again. So let's double click a chord. If you're not sure what a chord sounds like, you can click this little preview button down here. Now that won't work for me because I've got the recording screen recorder software sort of interrupting the audio routing, but go ahead and click that one so that you can sort of preview the notes. It's also got the scale in, so it kind of tells you where this chord fits in terms of different scales or modes. So you can click that one and it will tell you, whether it kind of fits in one of those, just some of the most common ones there. If you want to do inversions of chords, so it's an F chord, but you want it to be an inversion or a slash chord, you can change the root note of that, so the bottom note of that chord. And another cool function here is the MIDI input. So if you click that one, it should go blue. If you've got a keyboard connected, Logic will actually analyze your chord and then change the chord for you in the chord lane up here. So let's see what that looks like. So I've just played an F sus2, and Logic has changed that first chord then to an F sus2, which is really good. If I wanted to be an F sus4, it changes there for us as well. So really, really helpful. That also works if you're using Cmd K for the virtual keyboard in Logic as well. So really useful. So if you just want to hear what a chord sounds like, or you are playing something on your keyboard but you don't know what chord it actually is, Logic will tell you what that chord is and then change the data here in the chord lane, which you can then copy in and drag down. So really, really helpful. So I think this is genuinely really helpful. If you know music theory, it's super helpful for making chord progressions really quickly. If you don't know any music theory, it's a good way of you figuring out what chords sound good together without necessarily knowing what the chords are called, which is great. If it sounds good, there's not really a problem, right? Okay, really helpful. And I think that's most of what there is to that. It's really good though, but I think it's a really good efficiency tool as well. So if you want to create progressions really quickly. Okay, now I did say that I could show you a similar way of doing this if you don't have Logic Pro 11, and that is using the MIDI FX plugin down here. So what we need to do is click chord trigger. So if you're using Logic Pro 10 and below, this is probably what you'll do. If you come then to this menu here, you can come down to multi, and you've got some different keyboard voicings. So we've got a diatonic left hand, that's quite similar. And then all you need to do is on your keyboard, press a single note and it plays chords for you, which is really helpful. But in order to get those chords to play in, you have to click record. So what we can do is that. Okay. Now the only difference here is that it plays in a single note for you instead. but it does allow you to kind of bridge the gap between this cool new function here in Logic 11 and maybe something from previous versions. But really helpful, really good. There we go. Any questions or any comments or anything like that, drop me a message and I'll try and get back to you. And if not, thanks for watching.